Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Tuesday, June 9th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Ball State game in 88 days, the game against Michigan in 172 days. We're sponsored today by our friends at Jeff Ruby's Columbus, proudly offering nationally acclaimed USDA prime steaks, seafood and sushi, impeccable service, live entertainment, and an attention to detail that is simply unmatched. Just go to jeffruby.com/Columbus or scan that convenient QR code on your screen to check out the menu and make a reservation today. All right, we've got the first camp of the summer coming up on Tuesday at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Tony Juck and I will be out there for coverage of that. Some big names, including the number one defensive tackle in the nation, going to be at the Woody on Tuesday. We'll be there for that. We'll have all sorts of coverage for you throughout the day at youtube.com/@Buckeye Insiders. Today, though, we got to talk about week number 2 of official visits. The Buckeyes had 6 official visitors over the weekend, 3 already committed, 3 not committed yet, and a couple of their big names doing some official visits elsewhere. We're going to be talking about all of that with Juck Miletti of BuckeyeInsiders.com. Juck, let's start with Kaylon Bailey, the linebacker out of Glenville. He is not committed to Ohio State yet, but where do things stand coming out of his official visit?
This kid's so good, Tom. He's so underrated. They have moved him up now from the number 1,100 something player to number 750. So trending in the right direction, but he's clearly a blue chipper, and that has nothing to do with the fact that he plays at Glenville. The dude is legit, and he has been being pursued heavily by Louisville, Colorado. They're trying to get him on campus. He already went to Louisville and West Virginia. Really had a great visit at Louisville. Brian Hartline trying to get him down to USF. That's supposed to happen next weekend. And there was some thought that Louisville and Colorado were coming with some heavy offers, and that puts Ohio State in that position that they've been in many times, where you got an in-state guy who's a third option for Ohio State, top dog there, and he's in that conundrum now where he's, got to decide what he wants to be. And it sounds like from everything I've heard coming out of that visit that not just the familiarity with everybody at Ohio State that he already has, but James Laurinaitis in particular have made him feel quite comfortable. Then he had a discussion with Matt Patricia, who, of course, said he wanted to use him like Arvell. And that's just the buzzword. You say that to a kid, their eyes light up, and he can actually be used like Arvell. He did bring up Sincere potentially being used like that, and took a little shot at Sincere that he's a better pass rusher than him. So, but yeah, man, it sounds like everything went really good with Kaylon Bailey, which is awesome because that with Prince Goldsby and Quentin Cypher, one heck of a 3-man linebacker crew if they can pull that off.
Yeah, those Glenville linebackers, there's a long string of Glenville linebackers who have been pretty impactful players at Ohio State, and Kaylon Bailey could potentially be the next one in that list if he does commit at some point. Next up, Jayden Miles. He is a running back out of Louisiana, and I know there is another running back in the 2027 class that we've talked a bunch about, David Gabriel George. He was at Tennessee over the weekend. But what are you hearing about Jayden Miles and his visit?
This one's a mystery to me. I can't really find much, but of course, this is such an awkward position that Ohio State's in here, as he's visited Florida State. He's got still Kentucky and LSU left to go, and he's a kid from Louisiana. I don't know how hard LSU's pursuing him, but I know Florida State's coming really hard, and I know Will Stein and Kentucky are going to be coming really hard. Ohio State in a situation where, while he is the backup plan to David Gabriel George, he's going to be making his decision before David Gabriel George. Does he want to make a decision before David Gabriel George potentially commits to Ohio State? Who wants to be in a class with that dude? I don't know, but it sounds like he might think he's a little better than David Gabriel George. I saw him retweet somebody saying that he is the better prospect for Ohio State than David Gabriel George, and listed all the reasons why that individual thought that, and he retweeted it. Which you love the confidence in a kid like that. And he is 6'2", 200 pounds. I mean, he's a dog, not anywhere near the level of DGG as a prospect, but he's certainly an Ohio State caliber back. But as far as what they're going to do here, I think it's really interesting. They don't want to take 2 backs. They could take 2 backs. What do you do if you miss out on DGG and he's already committed? Now you're looking, kind of just to fill a number. And last year, taken in favor of Key, who looks to be pretty legit, certainly not a top echelon prospect, but he looks like a legit Ohio State back. it's just an interesting spot here that they're in, and I don't know how they're going to navigate it. It sure would be very helpful if DGG made that decision before Jayden Miles. Now, David Gabriel George was at Tennessee over the weekend, and he was at Tennessee and had a great visit, of course, and coming out of that thing, everybody from Tennessee and the inside sources, the staff feels great about him coming out of that. So this one reinvigorated with DGG, and this is going to come down to that decision date with him on July 22nd.
So that'll be definitely one to watch. That is probably the highest profile recruitment for the 2027 cycle for Ohio State. Definitely one that they are very, very, very interested in winning. Next up, we got Jaden Carey, cornerback out of St. Thomas Aquinas, another South Florida kid visiting the Buckeyes last weekend. How did that one go?
Really great. Comes up with teammate Cowboy Jr. Wyatt Smith. And Jaden, one of 4 cornerbacks on Tim Walton's board. And one of them, Bryce Woods, off the board, not coming in for his official, committed to Virginia Tech, which drops it down to 3. Jaden Carey, Deontay Malone, and Montana Torbert, 2 Ohio kids. And those are the 3, with Jaden Carey coming in first. There was a question when Bryce Woods was still on the board, would Ohio State be ready to take him? Because of the 4, he was kind of thought to be the low man of those 4. So would they take him or would they potentially hold off? Well, now that Bryce Woods is off the board, he was going to come in next weekend with Torbert and Malone, all 3 of them. Now it sounds like he's really liking Ohio State. Took a visit to Miami. I don't think he's really on their board, but Auburn certainly is, and he's got them next week. So it looks to me like all systems go with Jaden Carey. I think he probably ends up in this class, and hopefully Malone and Torbert do as well. But if I was ranking them in order, I go Malone, Torbert, Jaden Carey, and I think that'd be a heck of a cornerback class for a cycle where Ohio State is saving money. And you can do that, smartly doing that, after bringing in Dominic Kelly, adding him to Devin Sanchez for the 2025 crew. Then you come back with Jay Timmons and Jordan Thomas, 2 excellent cornerback classes in a row. Now you can hold some money or put it towards the defensive line and go try to shoot your shot at some local kids that'll pan out, hopefully.
All right, and then 2 guys who were definitely prospects of note for Ohio State, prospects of interest for Ohio State, who were visiting elsewhere over the weekend. The first one is Brady Edmunds, the quarterback who is committed to Ohio State, scheduled to make a visit to Ohio State this weekend, but who was at UCLA last weekend. So how did that visit go for Brady?
Brady dropped a bomb on us, Tom. Brady dropped a bomb. So we've all speculated for a while as to what's really going on. How's Brady feeling about the way Billy Fessler and Ryan Day were moving with all these other quarterbacks? And Brady so far publicly has really only said, if Ohio State starts bringing in guys for official visits, then he'll have to kind of respond in kind. Well, Ohio State hasn't done that, has none scheduled, but Brady did schedule this visit very quickly and went to UCLA immediately for that official visit. It was his 3rd time on campus in the last month and a half. And Brady had an unbelievable visit that blew him away. And then he discussed in an interview about Ohio State not feeling valued, doesn't care about the second quarterback. It's the fact that he was feeling a lot of love from them that he no longer feels, and he feels it at UCLA. Now, he says that he is going to play the process out, and we know that he'll be in town June 17th for a 7-on-7, June 18th for a camp, and then his official starts June 19th, 20th, 21st, planning on coming in for a whole week. The question is, does Ohio State repair this? I think they can if they want to. I think he publicly put this out there. I mean, they're obviously going to see it, right? It sounds like he's hurting. It did. I mean, it read like this is a kid who's kind of feeling shunned. I think they can repair it if they want to. Will they? I don't know. I guess we'll know if he decides to, or if that official visit happens. If he comes to Ohio State, I would say that they're trying to repair the relationship here that certainly seems strained, and UCLA really opened his eyes as an option here.
Yeah, as a Southern California kid, UCLA, obviously there's a lot to like there for sure, especially with new head coach Bob Chesney. So that is going to be an interesting one to watch. And does he make that trip? And then how does that trip go? And is he committed at the end of that trip? That's all going to be interesting stuff to watch play out over the next week and a half or so. Last guy I want to talk about is Markus Fakatou. He is the defensive lineman who visited Ohio State last weekend. He was visited, 2 weeks ago, first weekend of June. Then he visited Texas this last weekend. He's someone who was pretty high on Ohio State coming out of that visit, but of course, Texas, I'm sure, putting on the full court press as well. So how did that one go?
So Markus and Marcus's family are absolutely enamored by Larry Johnson. They love him. But Larry and Ohio State view him as more of an interior guy. Markus wants to play on the outside. Now, Markus is too big. He is 6'7". He's gone on a cut recently and got his weight down, gotten as lean as he can to tip the scales at about 260 because he wants to convince everybody he's going to play on the edge because that's what he really wants to do. But a year or 9 months in a college strength and conditioning program, there's just no way you're going to keep the weight off this kid. He's just got too big of a frame. Nonetheless, Texas and one Alan Clark have convinced him that he can play on the edge. And Alan Clark was not just his host, but made a huge impression on Markus at Texas because he comes from Larry Johnson and it continues the legacy. And Markus talked about this extensively, how cool that would be because, like I said, they got so much respect for Larry. Well, now you've got the next generation of Larry here at Texas. The visit blew him away. We talked about how he was all spring, everywhere he went, coming out of wherever he went. It was the best visit ever. And it sounds like this one hit the mark again. But of note, Georgia did not. They were in between Ohio State and Texas. So we've still got Notre Dame and Oregon to go. Not sure if those will happen. There's some question as to whether or not they will. But right now, it looks like I think this will be Ohio State and Texas to the finish line for Markus Fakatou.
All right, so there you go. Updates on 5 guys coming out of official visits to Ohio State and elsewhere after last weekend. We will have more coverage of this weekend's official visits coming up later on in the week. Before then, we got camp coverage coming for you starting on Tuesday at youtube.com/@Buckeye Insiders. And of course, on your podcast platform of choice, we'll be talking about it on tomorrow's morning show. I have a strong suspicion you will hear Juck's voice again on tomorrow's morning show, talking about some of the guys that we saw at camp on Tuesday. And we'll have, if you want an update on where things stand with our new site, BuckeyeInsiders.com, just go right there, BuckeyeInsiders.com. There's a spot where you can sign up, enter your email address. We'll be sending out an update on the site a little later on this week. Have an update on sort of when you can expect things to happen, what our plan is, what we've got coming in terms of coverage, and much more. That's all at BuckeyeInsiders.com. Just go ahead and enter your email address in there, and we will keep you up to date on everything happening there. And thanks again to our friends at Jeff Ruby's of Columbus, the award-winning upscale steakhouse in downtown Columbus. Named one of the top 50 steakhouses in America by Food Network. Just go to jeffruby.com/Columbus to check out the menu and make a reservation today. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.